Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is the grilled chicken Caesar wrap. So I love a good Caesar salad, and today what we're doing is we're taking the chicken Caesar salad and we're putting it in a wrap form so it's good to go anytime. Now this is great because you can whip it up over the weekend for meal prep, eat it cold throughout the week, or you can do this any night of the week. Put it on a weeknight, have your hot chicken on a cool Caesar salad inside a spinach wrap. It's delicious, I promise. We're gonna get right into this by making our Caesar dressing. So we're gonna start by grating down some garlic. I'm looking for about 1 tablespoon total, but I want it broken down super fine so that this fresh garlic melts right into the sauce. Now, the fresh garlic kind of has this almost spiciness to it, you know, when it's fresh. Before it gets cooked, it's got a little kick to it. I want to experience that, but I don't want you to necessarily bite right into it. It should be melted into the sauce a bit. I'm saying sauce, but you know, I mean the Caesar dressing itself. The other thing any great Caesar salad ought to have is some anchovies. And don't fight me on this. You guys try it. In fact, don't tell anyone you put it in. Well, maybe that's not safe, but if you didn't tell anyone it was in there, all they'd know is that it tastes amazing. So go ahead and try it. I'm using 8 fresh fillets. This is a kind of a double batch of my normal Caesar dressing, but 8 fillets of canned anchovies here. And we want to break that down also very fine, because again, you're not trying to bite into these ingredients and taste the individual ingredients. You want to take a bite of this sauce or this dressing and just taste Caesar dressing. Because if you don't want to do all this knife work, you can typically find an anchovy paste also at your grocery store. And it looks like we're going to come up with about 2 tablespoons in the end. So this Caesar dressing we're going to make from scratch, which means we're starting with 1 egg yolk. This is going to be just like if we were doing like a mayonnaise or a hollandaise. We're going to add in our garlic and anchovy here at the beginning, as well as about a teaspoon of our Kozlik's Dijon mustard. Nice grainy Dijon. And we're just going to whisk all of that together, and then we're going to start to build our emulsion from here. So for this recipe, we're going to use 100% extra virgin olive oil. Sometimes that can end up being a little bit bitter, so if you want to cut it with some, say just some vegetable oil, peanut oil, avocado oil, you definitely can do that. But this Caesar salad's just one component of the overall dish today, so I'm okay if it's a little bit more pungent and if that flavor sticks out just a little bit more. So we're going to go straight EVOO. And the way you want to do this is you start real slow, just adding in a few drops at a time to make sure you can actually form that emulsion. And then as you add more, you can add it a little bit quicker. You just don't want to see this break and separate, or you're going to have to start over. Or fix it, which is as much work as starting over. All right, so I'm doing this by hand today, but you absolutely can do it in a food processor if you want to. It's kind of good to see it by hand if you haven't done it before, just to know that you can. All right, so you'll notice this doesn't look like Caesar dressing yet. That's all right, we're not quite there. What we want to do now is we're going to thin it out a bit with about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. This really brightens things up. Just start to thin that out just a little bit. Then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. Thinning that out just a little bit more. Now it's starting to look like a dressing consistency. We're also getting all those great umami flavors from the Worcestershire. We're going to do just about a half teaspoon of pit fire hot sauce. Nice tangy, not too spicy, just a nice tanginess to it. Slight heat. And then the last thing that you gotta have for your Caesar is Parmesan. We're gonna use 1 cup of the powdered stuff. And beyond that, all we need is a little bit of fresh, cracked black pepper. Ooh. So much flavor in there. Garlic, big time. Parmesan, big time. I'm getting the lemon, the olive oil, ooh, and just that little bit of anchovy on the back end. You can probably identify it if you're familiar with it, but otherwise, once this is all on that lettuce and it's coating everything, you're just going, that's all flavor. That's all good flavor. All right, so our yield is just shy of 2 cups on that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use half of this Caesar dressing as a marinade, and the other half is going into the wrap. Now, the chicken we're using today is chicken tenderloins. We got about 1 pound of them here. These are nice because they're obviously super tender. They cook really quickly. You can get some great char on them. It won't take long for them to take on some of the flavor of this marinade because they're so small. So if you can give these just even half an hour just to sit in the fridge with some Caesar dressing on them, start to take on some of that flavor and tenderize them. In the meantime, you can start to work on the rest of the ingredients for this wrap. So we're also going to need some romaine, obviously, for the salad portion of the wrap. We're going to do some fresh sliced tomatoes in here as well, so we'll just go ahead and get, 2 to 3 slices for each wrap ready to go. Now with the romaine, typically for a Caesar salad, you want the heart of the romaine more so than the leafy greens, but these obviously are great leafy greens here. So we're gonna save these for sandwiches, for salads, something different. I'll go ahead and put those away in the fridge. And then we're gonna take really just this hearty part of the romaine. We're gonna cut this in half, and then we're gonna do our little trick that we like to do with the grilled romaine salad, and that's to throw this over some direct flame just to get a little bit of char on the surface. But today we're grilling on the Yoder Smoker's YS640S pellet grill. It's currently set to 500 degrees, and that means it's constantly pouring pellets into the fire pot, which means the fire is constantly raging up. We're gonna do that because we don't wanna close the lid for this part. We're gonna leave it open so that we don't wilt the lettuce. We just wanna get a little color on it. So we're getting just a little bit of color on these, which is what we're going for. That crunch is kind of fun. That little bit of grilled flavor adds something to it. This is definitely a step you could skip if you want to, but it's kind of fun to pull off. All right, so we've got a little bit of color, but we're not wilted, which is great. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna dice this down and throw it in the fridge to cool off. For a wrap, I'm gonna go with a little bit smaller dice on the romaine. If we were doing just a regular salad, probably do it a little bit chunkier. But I want it to just kind of all fit into that wrap along with the chicken. So we're going just a little bit finer today. Well, our chicken's had a good 30 to 45 minutes to soak up that Caesar dressing and marinade. At this point, we're gonna pull it out, get it seasoned up and grilled off. So these tenders, we're not even really gonna wipe them off much as far as that dressing goes. That fat in that dressing is gonna do good things for it when it's on the grill cooking and add flavor. So we're just gonna leave that dressing on the surface and add a little extra seasoning. So we'll season these up with our Cattleman's Grill Italiano. Of course, that's gonna stick really easily with that marinade on the surface. And even any of this seasoning that comes off with some of the fat and some of the Caesar dressing on the grill, it's gonna hit those grill grates and come back up in the form of flavor. So we're really just packing that flavor into our chicken tenderloins. So these are going right over the fire. The grill is still set to 500, although it's just been dropping pellets, so it's even hotter than that at this point. And that's a good thing when you're working with a smaller protein like this, because the internal is going to come up quickly, so we got to make sure we can get some color on the outside before it's fully cooked all the way through. Now once these release themselves and they've got some good grill marks, they're ready to be flipped. If they're still sticking, you can leave them just a little bit longer. See, this guy is a little further out here away from the flame, not quite ready. Yeah, we can flip it. Close. But if they're sticking at all, just give them a little bit more time. They'll release on their own when they're ready. So these are going to be temping, I mean, they're different sizes, so they're going to be temping a little bit different. We're only wanting to take these up to about 155. And I feel like now that we've got some good color on one side, we can close the lid to help get ourselves up to that number. All right, about half of these tenderloins have come off already. As soon as they cross that 155 mark, I'm pulling them. Now before we dice into this chicken, there's one last thing we're gonna mix up for our wraps, and that's a little crouton. I know you could argue that maybe the wrap is the crouton in this situation, but I want a little bit more crunch inside. So what we're gonna do is we're taking a little bit of panko with just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and then some of that Italiano seasoning. And then this acts as your crouton, but actually you get tiny little bits of crunch all the way through the wrap. Your Italiano crouton crumble, if you will. So we'll just slice these up. A little bit warm, so they want to fall apart still, but that's okay. So before we assemble the wrap, we're going to get our romaine dressed with our Caesar dressing. And the best way to do this is to throw on a pair of gloves and work it right in there. Start with a little bit less than you need because you can always add more later. We're going to dress this just a little bit heavier than we would for a salad because there's a lot of other stuff going on inside this wrap. All right, before we put these wraps together, I'm just going to loosen up the wrap itself by heating it up a little bit. We're not doing anything more than trying to get this softened and pliable. So to build the wrap, we're going to start with some provolone cheese, about a slice and a half. Add just as much tomato as you like. On top of that, we've got our overdressed Caesar salad. Sharing that sauce between the lettuce and the chicken. And then we're going to top it off with some of that crouton crumble and a little bit more Parmesan. Give it a roll and a fold. That's it. Provolone, tomato, the romaine, the Caesar, chicken, crouton crumble, and more Parmesan. All right, let's check this out. Boy, that is pretty. A lot of great color in there, a lot of great flavors going on. Let's get a taste. So much flavor in every bite. You know, it's cool and it's hot at the same time. Although this really is one of those dishes that if you're eating it completely cold, you're gonna be fine. You could wrap this up in plastic, put it in the fridge, have it for lunch tomorrow. But Caesar shines. That dressing is just money. I mean, it's doing it from scratch is totally different than buying it from the store. I've said this to you guys before, specifically about this dressing. Do it from scratch, do it right. Add these fresh ingredients around it. With the grilled chicken, you get that bitterness, a little bit of bitterness, but really just like that char, that nice smoky char. It's complemented really nice by the lettuce, by the tomato. And then you get the cheesiness. You got a little bit of cold cheese on there. You got a little bit of cheese worked into the dressing. It's creamy, it's crispy, it's just really refreshing. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are making lunch.